Hey, this is Matt, and I just recently realized that on Instagram, if you post it, you can have longer stories. So I'm going to start one. I'm just going to record till I'm finished, and I'm going to just go through my skateboard history and why I love it. And as I do this, I'm not going to name drop just because there's so many people, and I think anyone interested in memoirs or storytellings need to consider people in your past may not want to be mentioned or involved. A lot of people are private, but and actually I know that a lot of people that are private have the best stories. So I'm gonna, try to record my stories myself and put them on Instagram. And I'm glad there's not a rush to do it in 60 seconds or 90 seconds. Well, my first memory of a skateboard, I remember I was in Albuquerque. I was on a school bus near my school. This must have been second or third grade, and I was just in the bus, and we were at a stop sign or light, and I saw two kids with skateboards, and they were kind of like, I don't know, maybe like now they'd be considered a goth. They were kind of dressed up, and they had skateboards. They were a few years older, and I was just staring at them, and my friend next to me was like, "Oh, those are bad kids," but somehow I was just drawn to it. I just sort of like, what are they doing? They have something that I don't have. And also some of my friends' older brothers had kind of what we call banana boards, where now they just look like penny boards. Those really popular plastic ones are small with the wheels, and those were everywhere. I think they're kind of leftovers from the 70s and early 80s. But so we moved to Baltimore, probably like 86 or 87. And the first year, I don't remember because we were in a neighborhood in temporary housing, and my dad said I just like played with G.I. Joe in my room like a whole summer, like maybe 86 or 87. But I think it was 88, we moved to our new neighborhood, the beginning of that summer. And I had a board from Caldor, which is kind of like Walmart, so it was like a cheap board. And in my new neighborhood, and I saw all these skaters, and there's a group that I skated for several years after that, and one of them challenged me to go down this hill, and of course they have good bearings and legitimate setup. So, but I rolled down it, and the other guy rolled down a lot faster, but it says, "Oh, you didn't fall." So that was fun. And a week later, I was in one of their houses, and we watched Public Domain by Paulo Peralta, and that's why I think it's 1988, because that's when the copyright for that DVD is. And the next few years were great. I think we just had a neighborhood. There wasn't much spots. There's a lot of flatlands. There's a lot of hills. And our neighbors, they built stuff, skate stuff. And like two of my neighbors, two families kind of skated that year too. And then, my parents were supportive. They got me a rail slide thing, it was kind of like a curb, but with two pipes on it, with two copings, and a launch ramp, and just a fun few years. And then I remember going to the sixth grade. I was in class, and I turned around and I saw someone wearing Airwalk 540s, and it says, "Oh, that guy skates." And so we became friends quickly, and then I started with a few other people skating like York Road in Timonium, Maryland. That was a lot of fun, a lot different. There's like a yellow curb, and we just searched for spots because it's a very busy business road in suburban Baltimore. And in middle school, we actually had a skateboard table. So we had a whole table set up of just skaters, and we would just talk. And I remember when the Hocus Pocus came out, one of my friends was like, "There's no way it can be better than Shall Me Not." But that was the first VHS that I had, was H Street's Hocus Pocus. I watched it every day, and by then I thought that came out in '89, but apparently NBD on Instagram, they said it's probably came out in early 1990. But, so I'm trying to, piece together the time frame of all this stuff. But, yeah, so, we had a skater table at middle school, and then I went 1 year to a very large suburban high school in Baltimore. And we had a skater table there too. It's a few different people, because not everyone went to the high school I went to, but it's just a big suburban school. And for the first few years I was mostly in my neighborhood, and then in Timonium, Maryland, there, York Ave, and then towards the end of Baltimore, we started going downtown Baltimore, and those were a lot of fun days and a lot of spots. And I was mostly just observing other skaters. Like there's this really steep bank to a top, and I remember people just doing lip tricks on it, and I was just kind of amazed by that. But and I also one funny story, I started jumping down stuff. I always want to kind of grab attention by just doing crazy stuff. And the craziest thing I jumped off in Baltimore was near downtown, near the Inner Harbor. There's a walkway over a major street, and above that walkway there's a building that's maybe 8 or 9 feet taller than that, but there was no gates or anything. So we had actually we were with a bunch of people, and I was like, I can jump that. I can jump from the building onto the walkway. And people were like, no, you can't. And then I was like, maybe I should sit on the ledge and just push off, and then so it won't be as high. And they're like, no, don't do that. If you do that, just do the jump from the top. And I did it, and then several other people did it too. And then I did it again, and then the third time I wanted to do it again. My friend's like, no, if you do it again, you're gonna break your leg or something. But that was so one of my friends filmed that, but talking to him years later, he said that footage is long gone. And now that I know more about filming and editing, that I know a lot of footage is not there. So I don't really, it's not like today where people film everything. So I doubt there's any footage of my youth years of skating. But yeah, I guess in summer of '92, I moved to Toledo, Ohio, and right before, I forgot, I went to Woodward for several years when I lived in Baltimore, 1990, 91, and 92. That was a lot of fun. We had we went to Ocean City a few times. There was, it's just a great way to kind of grow up and, skating and just sort of being out there all day and having fun. But I moved to Toledo in '92, and I met a few skaters at skate camp before I moved. So I knew some skaters in the area before I moved. And I also, my school, I went to a very different school in Toledo. I went to a private school, and before I went there, they actually contacted me and said that one of their students skateboards. And, I was excited, and my parents drove me there. But I'm just so wrapped up in tech skating, baggy pants, small wheels, that the guy was just 2 years older, but he had big wheels, and he was a good skater, a good pop, but just a different type of skating. So I always felt bad about that. I didn't hang out with him much or skate with him much after that. But he's a nice guy. I don't know if he continued skating after that much anyways, but I always felt kind of bad and about, kind of ghosting him just because he had a different skate style than me. But yeah, Toledo was a lot of fun. We skated, I skated Rossford. There was a church that with steps and curb and good flat top, good ground. And, I took the bus downtown that summer, and there's the port side. Anyone from that area knows that it was like our little EMB spot, because it was brick, there were a lot of ledges, gaps, you know, we called the pit. It was like this big drop off thing, and it was like a block and then down in a block, and you know, really looked cool. I eyed that at some point. I tried to kickflip it once, but I got close, but didn't get it. But yeah, Toledo was good. I think I improved a lot that summer just by skating a lot and watching the Plan B questionable video. I just kind of like, you know, a lot of the flip tricks like nollie varial kickflips and switch flips and, you know, stuff like that was in that video. So Toledo was good, and 93, 94 were probably the best years. 93 into start of 94 were probably the best years I skated, and I remember one session there was a budget parking lot, which is a car parking lot that was empty, a car dealership, and there's this big gap. It must have been 8 steps, but they were long, so it was like a really long ollie, and I almost made it. I kept like kind of clearing it, but I would turn and then I just wouldn't get it. But there's also people bought like ledges, and there's a gap, and I remember one person there just really had nollie heel flips and nose slides on some of the knee, you know, it was like about the height of your knee, so it was like a really good thing. And that's probably the longest I've ever tried to do was that budget parking lot steps, and my friend kickflipped it that day, so that was cool to see. And I'm talking about jumping stuff. I guess in the port side, the downtown Toledo, I remember jumping off like crazy. I remember looking at this thing like it's where the steps go up. Like there's a series of steps that goes up this thing to the street, and there was this thing on the side, and I just jumped over this thing at probably 8 to 10 feet high, and then into the grass, and it was fun. I guess I was kind of a goofy wild kid, but I kind of did have aspirations to be a good skateboarder. Looking back, I was never consistent enough to be sponsored, because you know they have to do the tricks and they have to have them dialed and they have to have them really good and progressive. But you know, like any kid, I wanted to be a pro skater. But that changed in 1997 when I had my first mental illness episode, and I'll get into details of that in another talk, because but it did mean like I never skated like I did before, you know, after that. That happened like June of 1994, and by September 1994, when I went back to school, I went from weighing 135 pounds to 200 pounds. Like the medicine just kind of, you know, affected me, and it just kind of bloated out. And like now I weigh like around 185, 190, but I have a little more muscle. So it's going from 135 to 200 without muscle. Like you can imagine how unhealthy I was and how I looked. I was supposed to go a school trip to Spain with my private school that winter, but they didn't think I was healthy enough, like physically or mentally. But yeah, so I still skated some after that. And I had a second episode that spring of 1995, and I did graduate, which is great. I wonder if I was in a public school if that would have happened or not. But yeah, with skating, I did start University of Toledo, and I did skate those a little bit on campus. And I remember one of my friends was like, yeah, we just got kicked out of the field house. The field house was a good spot at University of Toledo. It was an indoor basketball court. When people would sneak in there, this is before security cameras and everything, and it was just like a perfect skate thing, and people would like, you know, just find obstacles in there to skate and stuff. But one of my friends said I was on the list of, you know, people that to be careful. I was on the campus security's list of a skateboarder, I guess. But yeah, so after that, my freshman year, for a few years, I didn't skate much, but I think either summer of 1996 or 97, they built a ramp, a mini ramp in Rossford, right where my parents live. And it was funny. Like, my friend called me and said, like, you have to come down here. You live right next to it. So I grabbed my old board and I went down there, and I actually did a kickflip to fakie on the mini ramp, which is, I can't do that now. But, my friend was like, that's pretty good for not skiing for a few years. And then I got back into it because it was right, next to where I live. And it was a lot of fun. In 97, though, that fall, I had my third psychotic episode. And that one I recovered a little quicker from. And it was different. It was more manic, less paranoia. So I recovered quick, and I started skating. So there's a good few years from like 97 to 2000, I was skating pretty regularly. I was decent, but I was not like I was before. And then right around 2001, I started working at a bookstore. After I graduated, I started distance learning for my library degree, and I kind of, let me go back for a little bit. I guess I told you how at Baltimore and in middle school and the first year of high school, I had the skater table. But when I went to the private school in Toledo, I was the only skater except for the one guy I didn't skate with. But that kind of created like two different worlds. I would have my school world and my skate world. And that kind of continued on. And when I worked at the bookstore, that was just highlighted by, I wanted to speed up my grad degree in 2003, so I decided I was going to move to Kent State to finish up my library degree quicker. And I had a going away party. I invited a ton of people. I invited a ton of people from the bookstore and a ton of my skate friends. And we're going to go bowling. I thought everybody would mingle, it'd be great, it'd be fun. But one alley was the skaters and one alley was the bookstore people. And they did not cross lines much, but it was a lot of fun. And I remember one of my friends from high school that went there, he was my designated driver, and he said that the skaters were a lot of fun. And that's kind of continued to this day to have, kind of separate groups of people. But I always think that the skaters are fun and live in the moment. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about that later. So yeah, from when I went to Kent State, there was a nice little park near a golf course in Canton, Ohio, I believe. I skated that a few times, but I was just kind of caught up in the library world, and that was my kind of going away from home experience. So I had that, and then moved to New York in 2004, and just kind of continued, just kind of hang out. But in 2007, right when the Lakai video came out, the fully flared, I just got excited about skating again. There was a meetup group on meetup.com, Skateboard NYC, so I joined that, met some people in the city, and I moved to New York because of the job. I had no idea of such the culture and, great people that skate here. So So like from 2007, I started back, but quickly within a year, I had a slight tear in my ACL, and that kind of set me back for a year. And in 2008, I started again and picked it up pretty good. And still kind of, intermediate level skating, but that's fine. And then 2012 was a pivotal year. I started meeting the Slappy Sunday guys, and that just, before that I was skating Forest Park, and I was just skating mostly by myself or meeting people that acquaintances at the park and having a good time. But that Slappy Sundays had a really good energy, and people my age or older, and you skate for the day and then you meet for a few drinks afterwards, and it was a really good time, and it just showed me a lot of diversity of like who skates in New York and who's our age that still does it. And it's a variety of people that I would not have met if I just stayed in my library world. And I also, that year I worked through Storm Sandy, so it was just a really good time. And then like that kind of continued on, I was skating, and then I moved down to Rockaway in 2004, and that opened up a lot of community, because I see the same people at the skate park and stuff. And I still went to Slappy Sundays, and those are a lot of good guys, and it's not, it's kind of on pause now. But in 2016 I had my 4th and hopefully final episode. That lasted 3 months, and I had to take leave off of work, and I was able to get healthy and get back. And we had a Slappy Sunday session right when I got back, and I just felt welcome back. I just felt like it was a really good session and a lot of fun. And what else? This is going on 22 minutes. Okay, so so in 2017 I had kind of another injury. I kind of pulled my abductor muscle, which is kind of like a groin muscle, and that kind of set me back for a little bit. I got back, and then I've been skating pretty regularly. The new park opened in Rockaway Beach in 2022, and with the pandemic kind of, I don't know, I guess I remained healthy mentally, but I did have some anxiety, and I think through work that we had so much protocols for like safety that it kind of made it a little more anxious for me. But so it's like, I think people that lived in Brooklyn, stayed in Brooklyn, some of my skate friends moved out of town, which is New York, people come and go, so it's pretty common, but I think more so with the pandemic. And I haven't progressed much in the last few years. I still enjoy it. I think a lot of people tell me I should, take it a little bit easy and just try to enjoy it and not try to worry about what tricks I do and what, and how good I am, because like no one cares how good you are as long as you try and you have fun. But I'm optimistic that things are going to get good, and this is going to be a good summer. And I do think skaters live in the moment more than anyone else, because you just kind of have to be able to do things. But skating, I also wonder if I had like false memories, like before I got sick in 17, could I do nollie inward heel flips and switch trays, all these things I think I remember doing, but like I don't know, I'm nowhere close to doing them now. So like, it doesn't even really matter. But I'm kind of wondering if like, I probably skate much differently than I did back then, but also some of it might be my imagination, because I don't know, skating's hard, but it's worth it, and it's good. And all right, this is going on 25 minutes, so we'll see if Instagram and YouTube will allow me to post it. All right, thanks a lot. Cheers.